Bang, Neeves Knives. I'm Jared, my lovely wife Kara is at work, and today we are doing the review on the Twosun Ts129. I think I've gotten enough time with it. I've been carrying it this entire time since I got it, and used it, sharpened it, and yeah, I don't think anything will change, so might as well do it. Plus, I know some of you were pretty excited about this one, or maybe, some of you have it already and some of you do have it ordered and you got it on the way. Now, if you already have it, you already know how awesome this knife is. If you have it on the way, spoiler alert, it's awesome. It's a really, really good knife. Now, let's get into it, but first, let's get into the boring stuff. The overall length is 8 inches with a 3.5 inch blade. Perfect EDC size, at least in my opinion. Here is a knife that's a little bit smaller than it, the Benchmade Bug Out. And then here's a knife a little bit longer than it, the CARHARTT Bare Knuckle, but not by much. I mean, they're really close. I think this knife is like 8 1/4, so it's only like a 1/4 inch, if that. Much bigger than it. Here's another one that's a little bit bigger than it, the Spyderco Shaman. And again, not by much. Let me scoot these down. Sorry if they're a little bit out of your view. And then here's one that's the exact same size, which would be the Benchmade Griptilian or the Hogue Ritter. These two are about, I mean, they're even, but as far as I can tell. Which everybody knows, I mean, the Hogue Ritter or the Benchmade Griptilian is just a perfect size. Especially, for a guy. I'm not going to say for all ladies, but for guys, it's a perfect size, EDC. Now, girls tend, and I'm not, some girls love big knives. But for the most part, usually there is a little bit of a size difference, in preference. But I think the main reason why is because of pocket space. I think that's the biggest thing. But let's get into this thing. All right, so I'm just wiping off the blade. Okay, so let's start with the blade. I love this grind. I love the blade shape. This thing is amazing. One, it's a very useful blade shape because, it's the same blade shape that's on like the Spyderco Chef or the CARHARTT Bare Knuckle. And it just gives you precision tip, a little bit of belly, a nice, it's not really a flat, but it works just like a flat. And when it's in your hand, it's basically facing towards your intended cutting task, but it still gives you areas like, say, to put your edge flat onto a surface to use it. Especially since this doesn't have a flipper tab, it makes it that much better because you don't have nothing stopping you from getting, the edge down to the surface. And also, you don't have nothing stopping you from using this little flat spot right there as, a finger landing zone. The grind, nice and thin behind the edge. I measured this one at like 12 thousandths behind the edge. Amazing. I love it. I did sharpen it and the grind was very even from one side to another. Took a nasty sharp edge. I mean, this thing is just ripping through hairs. Doesn't even whittle, it just blazes right through them. Now, this one is an M390 titanium and carbon fiber. The M390, it doesn't, it's got this satin finish, which I think looks gorgeous, but it does take a little bit of fingerprints here and there, but it's not that big of a deal, especially compared to the 14 or the Sandvik steels that Twosun's their satin finish goes on, for their blade steels. That one and their Sandvik steels, they really get scratchy and fingerprinty. Their M390 and S90V doesn't seem to do as bad. I don't even think their D2 does either. It seems like it's just their Sandvik steels. But So nice and thin behind the edge. The blade geometry is amazing. The ergos, or should I say the sharpening choil, is very nice. It gives you a nice little area to get right up to the blade, which I really, really like. I love the ergos on this thing. I kind of like compare it to a Benchmade Griptilian. Now, it doesn't feel exactly like Griptilian, plus it's different materials and everything else, but it's similar in a sense that the Benchmade Griptilian is very comfortable in the hand, and it gives you good ergos, whether you're in the reverse grip, the push cut, if you want to back up a little bit. And I'm not saying it's just like it, but it's kind of similar. Also kind of like, I mean, I'm not going to say like the Shaman because we got this little zone right there, but just in the sense that it's very comfortable and it gives you so many areas to grip, and it's nice and comfortable. I mean, I really, really like using, even in the flipped around grip, you know, whatever. This thing is comfortable no matter what, and I like that. I like being able to choose where I want to put my hands, and it doesn't matter how. And a lot of it has to do with this straight back area right here, and then your fingers can manipulate everything else. Now, we'll get to action. Let's go to action. So, jumping on the front flipper is done very well. It's nice and sharp. And since the detent isn't overly strong, and they put it in a really good area, I think they put it in a nice area where it's right over the top. So as long as you're above right here, or should I say above, like right there, and you just bring your finger, you break the detent and just let your finger go straight, it will fly. It's very easy to do on this model, as you can see, and you can also slow roll if you want to. Now the middle finger flick, super easy. Thumb flick, super easy. The way they have this chamfer around the hole is really nice. I kind of like how it's kind of a skull shape, I guess. I don't know what you'd call it. A bean shape? Pear shape. There you go, pear shape. It leaves a good area for you to put your finger right there, and it gives you good placement. A nice area. And the way they chamfered it, they left it to where you see how it's bigger and then it gets thinner right there. Very easy placement and nice and comfortable. Like, I imagine anybody can do a Spidey flick with this thing. The access to the lock bar, you can see it already. Super easy to unlock. It's very smooth. Now, when I first opened it up, it did have that zipper sound. Instantly went away as soon as I put some KPL on it and flipped it a couple times. The detent ball is nice and early, but it wouldn't really matter because it doesn't have the flipper tab to get in the way. So, and they also use a reverse detent track. So since they use a reverse detent track, even if it does hit it, you can easily just push right past it. Or you can even swing past it. Right now I'm on it. Bang. It came nice and centered. Or it is nice and centered even after flipping it a bunch of times. Now, when you release it, you do want to be a little careful because it can come down. I just always make sure my nail is facing out. That way it'll always just hit my nail. But you can also just regulate it with your finger. Not a big deal. Everybody flips their knives a little differently, so very easy. The detent, it's not, it's basically perfect for a front flipper and a, a thumb flicker, middle finger flicking type of action because it's not overly strong, but it's still nice and clicky. You can hear it. Very nice. And it works very well. Now, the carbon fiber, Oh yeah, I forgot to say, the jimping on the front flipper seconds as the jimping for back here. Works very well. Even back here is really where you use it, but you can use it right here too a little bit, depending on the grip you are in. The carbon fiber is done very well. I really like the carbon fiber on this. I haven't seen any voids. It looks really good. Everything's done really well. Even the holes are done really well. Which sometimes that's where you'll see the void. You'll see like it all tore up around it. You can see they cut out like a little section right here for the lanyard tube or hole, whatever you want to call it. The titanium is done very well. It's T8 hardware, which I love. You only have to use one bit to take this thing apart. The only T6 is the lock bar insert, and this thing does have ceramic ball bearings that are on a racetrack, which is really cool, and it has a ceramic detent ball. All the bells and whistles. The titanium has this it's almost like a beaded lined finish, because you see the lines. It's hard for me to get it to come up in the camera, but it almost has like a dot like a dot to dot line. So you see the line in the camera, but what you can't see is that these lines are filled in with like basically like when the drill bit was milling the lines, it left like a dot to dot finish, which is really cool. I think it looks really awesome, and it adds to the grip. Feels really good in the hand. And you might be able to see it come up on the clip maybe. It's very difficult to see. Let me see if I can zoom out and come closer. Anyways, it's there. You can almost, you can kind of hear it on the clip. The clip works very, very well. I'm very happy with the way Twosun is doing their clips nowadays. And even in the grip, it feels very comfortable. It doesn't bother me, not in the slightest bit. Very, very nice. And it works in the pocket so good. In and out of the pocket, very nice. Gives you plenty of room. I even wore it with thicker material. Works phenomenal. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. There is some weight relief on the titanium side. You can see it right there. It goes all the way up, even back here. It's hard to see back there, but there's some weight relief. Now, this thing does have an internal stop pin, which I also really like. It adds to strength, especially with side to side, which this thing absolutely has no play any direction. But I like internal stop pins. It's really tight in there, so it's hard for me to show you, but it's in there. It's an internal stop pin, which I do like. I like to see that rather than just a little skinny bar right here. The back spacer is nice and flush. All the hardware is nice and deep and done very well. Now, it is stainless steel hardware, but it's very well done. Very strong hardware. I've never, ever had an issue with any of Twosun's hardware. Now, let's get to the bad. So, only a couple things here. One, when it's closed, the blade is somewhat close right here. Now, I have to attempt to touch it, but I can touch it. Now, I can't really feel it like this, but if I turn it sideways and try, I can touch just right here. I can't touch it here or anywhere else, just this one little spot. And that's probably why they raised this up right here. Now, when it's open, the jimping fills in that area. And like I said, I don't feel it at all like this. So it's not really an issue. It's more of a nitpick, but it is close enough to where I can touch if I attempt to. The next thing is that you could possibly say that, and this is kind of unlikely. I did do a bunch of cutting with this, but it is a rounded, contoured knife. And the one thing that does stop what I'm about to talk about is the fact that you got all the jimping. Not jimping, but the milling. I guess it kind of could rotate a little bit, but if you get a good squeeze on it, it's so thick that that's so unlikely from happening. But it is contoured, so if I'm not holding it with a firm grip, if I'm holding with a firm grip, it's fine. But if I'm not really firm, I can twist a little bit. Once I get up here, it's not twisting at all, which is where you're going to be doing the push cuts. So, kind of like the Ritter Hogue, you can kind of turn it a little bit, but then if you got like a square knife, or here, like something like this where it's flat on the sides, you're not twisting at all. Like, it's just not going to happen. But with round knives, you got a little bit more of a chance of it moving. Now, once you grip down real heavy and you let your fingers lay flat across there, it's very unlikely that it's going to happen. But, it is a contoured knife, which adds to great comfort, though. So, when some areas you give a little, you're going to have to take away from other areas. But I find it very unlikely. And with all my cutting, I never really felt that. But it is a contoured knife, so that is one complaint from people with contoured knives. Luckily, it does have a good flat here that it gives you a lot of support in your palm. So, like I said, it's a very unlikely thing, but it's just something to talk about. And the last thing, it's not on the knife. It's on the company. I know they're at White Mountain Knives now, but for people that buy them from eBay and want to get them for that really good deal, they have to wait so long. We have to wait, like this one got here in a week, but it did come from California, which I thought was awesome. And I wish they could do that more often. I don't understand why they can't find somebody, whether it's one of the designers or, I don't know, someone, they can figure that part out, and then have them mail it to the people that order in the U.S. I know a lot of their buyers are in the United States. Now, obviously, in other countries, they can do whatever they have to do over there. But for the United States, where a big part of their sales is, they should figure out a way to get to us faster, because I promise you, more people would buy them. The biggest thing I hear from people, the reason why they don't buy them, is because they do not want to wait. Because on eBay it says between a month to 2 months, usually. Now, I've never waited that long. The longest I've ever waited was 4 weeks. This one got here in a week. My last one got here in 2 weeks. That's usually what it is, about 2 weeks. But the longest I've ever waited was 4 weeks. So, but people don't like to wait. People want to get them and get them in a few days. Now, if it was only 1 week, I don't think anybody would cry about that. But people hate seeing the time limit that it says on eBay. They hate it. And I can't blame them, because I don't like seeing it either. And there's been times where I didn't get it. I didn't get a knife that I would have bought or would have bid on, all because of the time limit it said. So that's the next thing. Other than that, this knife is amazing. I really, really like it. It does seem like Twosun does pay attention to the reviewers, and they do pay attention to the community. It seems like they listen. So their knives are just getting more and more incredible as time goes on, which I do really like to see. I like to see them growing with every model, which is amazing. All right, guys, there you go. Peace.